Okay, 1208, good luck. A little bit of a rating gap there. 550 games for my opponent. I've done 150 odd, or just coming up to that. What do I want to do? Let's just get the bishop out and go for simple development, keep it simple. And get this bishop into place somewhere, get castled. And then we'll worry about the rest of the game. I'm going to throw a check in and then come back, I think. Just got to watch out for the pawn running down depending on what your setup is. So bishop down, if he doesn't trade, he's got the potential to push at some point, but I'm going to drop back. I could take with a pawn if he trades, but I might do that actually. Let's just see what happens. Okay, he's gone for the check, so we'll get a tempo hitting the bishop. He's gone back. So I'm going to take his bishop, I think. Do I want to do that? I could take this one, then this one, but he's basically perfectly fine. Knight up might be a move as well. I'm actually going to just drop my bishop back. Pre-move in case takes this bishop, I don't think will. Okay, drops back as well. Now I am going to take then just to break that bit of symmetry. I'll just develop the knight. Queen up might be a move, but easy to defend. Queen up here is a move as well, so we've got two nuisance moves for the queen. Oh, he launches one. That feels like a bad move to me. I can take this and just drop back. I don't see any reason not to, so I'm just going to grab the pawn. I'll just come straight back. Very, very attacking. So now queen up and queen up again to attack the two pawns. Okay, he's taken now, so we'll take back. We'll pressure this pawn. Knight in the middle. He might come up, in which case I'm looking at this queen move still. Maybe I've got knight to h4 to attack the pawn as well. Yeah, he's played knight up, so what do I want? I think I want queen here. It's not easy to defend this pawn now. So if I go there, he's probably going to have to come in over. So knight out wide might be the better move actually to directly attack the pawn. Really not easy to defend. I'm going to attack it with the knight, because you can't defend it with either knight or the queen. So you can push it and I can take back, and my knight's still guarded. Or you can just ignore it. So I'm going to grab a pawn. I can go back to where I was if I need to. If knight in now, I'll just trade. Click on a square and it clears all the markings. So I'll get the cursor off the board. No accidental slips, castles. So now queen right up is a move. Knight check doesn't really seem to achieve anything. I'm going to play queen up with a view to castling queen side as well. H-file is open. A little bit dangerous castling that way. So what do I want to do? I'm going to get castled. Takes up some of the risk of my opponent opening the file up. Queen across creates a check threat. I could have done it that move as well, and potential to grab a pawn. So that's likely to be my next move, I would imagine, depending on what my opponent does. King across. I've got knight here to potentially go forward. Rook up is a move to try and double up and target the outer pawn. I like the look of that as well. And rook up helps to cover the knight coming in. Rook across is a threat to target the pawn. I guess he can just push forward if he wishes. Oh, queen along. Okay. The knight up is still a move. Queen back looks a perfectly good move. Knight across, and we're hitting the pawn. There's no real threat against us. But my knight's not going anywhere if he defends it. I'm just going to play rook across, pressure this pawn, see if he pushes it forward. And then maybe just queen back and offer the queen trade. Okay, let's drop the queen back. Oh, let's not pre-move anything actually. We could consider taking with the pawn and build a nice structure, but I think taking with a knight feels more natural. Maybe it does allow the knight in actually. Yeah, I'm going to take here, Because knight in could be a little bit of a nuisance. But we are going to have a move like pawn up at some point. It's got to be a little bit careful and try not to get this knight trapped. Like I can come in here, hit the pawn, but if you defend it, the knight's got nowhere else to go. Well, I might have soon though. How do I want to do this? I want to play knight in to attack the pawn. There he goes to defend it. I'd like to play pawn up threatening g4. It does weaken this pawn though. Knight across might allow his knight in. That's why I want to play this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to risk it. Trust I can just defend the pawn somehow, even if I have to drop a knight back. But yeah, this is where I might get a slight problem. Knight comes back now. It does guard this pawn, oddly enough. Oh, he takes. Oh, well, that means I can just take then. Any benefit to the knight? I don't think so. So I'm going with the pawn. I could have gone with the rook there as well, I guess, but solves the problem of defending the pawn if we get rid of it. Pawn up here surely must be good. We double cover this. We kind of cover this. The knight has a nice square now. And I've got g4 as a move now. Comes across, so I'm going to play knight over just to reinforce this. Potential to come in. But g4 is the move I'm really looking at here to try and grab a pawn here. Okay, as knight gets active. So I think g4 is probably the move now. It's whether I want to deal with the knight coming in. And I've got knight up. But I think if his knight comes in, I can just simply drop back. That feels okay to me. I'm going to play g4 and target this pawn. I could even play g5 potentially to kick the knight. And then just take with the rook. Yeah, knight in, I think I just drop back, challenge that knight. And if he pushes, I think I'm fine to trade and get the king up. Oh, and he has done that, okay. So I see no reason to change this, but I don't need to play quickly, it is rapid. I'm going to drop back there. Okay, now down, I think I'm perfectly fine just to simply trade. And he's got two isolated pawns. We can take this or we can push and take next move. So I'm going to take that. If he attacks this pawn and king across, it's fine. So do I want to go forward and kick his knight back? Or do I want to take and run my pawn? If I push, the knight moves back somewhere. I can then take with a rook with an idea that I can keep my rooks a bit active, bit more active, a little bit quicker. If I take with a pawn, the rooks are kind of not doing much, so I'm going to go this way. If he goes here, he just walks into a pin. Excuse me. Okay, get the markings, get the cursor off the board so there's no accidental slips. My knight goes back, so the knight can't actually jump out here anywhere, so I think I'm just going to collect the pawn, activate my rook, potentially attack the knight or the pawn next move. Maybe the pawn's a bit more straightforward. If rook down, I can simply play king across. King across. Okay, so he's gone across to defend. So here, king down, I've got knight check forces the knight off. Anything better? Here, to keep him defending his knight, but there's no obvious follow-up then. So I'm just going to go here and pressure the pawn. I've maybe got knight across as well. Okay, he has gone to defend it, so it must make sense to trade the knight, I would think, here. Take, rook here. Well, if I go knight across to attack it, he's then kind of getting his knight out, isn't he? So I'm just going to get the knight off the board. We're up 3 pawns, should be winning. I mean, they're never over till they're over, but it should be winning. So I've pre-moved in case he takes there, which I think he will, but could drop the king back, and actually it does. So I'm going to take, and I'm just going to start marching these pawns now. Okay, pawn forward, then the other one. Okay, let's go g4. I can maybe run the king up this way. Now, rook here, if he trades, is definitely winning because I can support the pawn. So here, take. So he plays pawn down though. So here, trade, pawn down. I can't actually push, but I can easily run the king across. It's going to be winning. Seems a bit unnecessary though. Let's drop the rook all the way back and try not to burn too much of the clock. There's no increment, it is just a straight 10-0. And maybe just run the king through, looks sensible. Okay. So I'm going to go here to try and control the 2 points at which his rook could burst through. I can't block everything, of course. Maybe he could try and come around the angles. So I'm going to run the king up now. Okay, pawn forward. Now I can take, if you take with a king, I check. Take, king takes. This is loose, but I'm going to mop up here, so that's going to be winning. So take, you take with a rook again, it should be winning. A very natural move is to simply push on. Or I could throw a check in first, you go back, take, rook takes, then you're on the back rank. So I think I might, the idea of doing that, I'm going to check and take, keep the king on the back rank. I'll take and then rook across, assuming that he captures. Okay, now rook over to collect this one. Just try and keep it simple, play basic chess, less risk of going wrong. Barring mouse slips, of course, or some bad lapse in concentration. Okay, so now we're going to collect 1 pawn and then go after another one. If he defends it, I can always start pushing here, so I'm going to push these now. Okay, let's bring the king up and go after the final pawn. As there's not much black can do, he's putting a good effort considering the rating gap. Now I can check again and drive the king back to the back rank again. But I'm going to go here and just target the pawn straight away. I could have checked and forced the king back somewhere or other. Okay, now I'm going to grab the pawn. Okay, so now I'm going to drive the king back. Now march forward. I've just got to be careful not to blunder a stalemate now. That's the only risk now, or should be. So steadily do it. Actually, not that one. go here first so I can drop back if I need to. I just need to make sure that king can always move somewhere so there's no risk of a stalemate like this. Actually, rook across now could be cleanly winning, because how does he get his rook out of the way without a trade? He can't. Well, maybe he can check there and back. But he still doesn't have any squares forward, does he? So I'm going to go here, threaten to check and take. Here, I can step forward or back. And I don't think you can avoid a trade. If I go forward, you can. So I'm going to go here. But there's no obvious squares for the rook to escape to. So now I just take the rook off and remove the risk. And you can't stop 5 pawns. So let's bring the king up. Okay, so we've got a queen. Do I get loads of queens? I might get a second one, but it's a little bit unnecessary, isn't it? But it makes it easier checkmate. We've got the queen there. And that's checkmate, but good effort, well done.